Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. Flooded areas of Saskatchewan are starting to have an impact on communities, roads and drivers. According to the Highway Hotline, various routes have been closed due to the flooding and the damage caused by the flooding. Highway 2 north of Waka, Highway 320 near Doremi, and various stretches of Highway 5 have been closed. Shellbrook, Aberdeen, and Beardy's and Okamesa's Cree Nation have declared a state of emergency due to road washouts. Residents in the flooded areas say they are stressed.
Some of the spots that when I got there, about half the road was gone. I talked to people who'd driven through there 3 hours earlier, and they said the road was dry and it was like good and everything was solid. So like within that 3 hour period, it went from the road's dry to half the road's gone.
Drivers are advised to check the Highway Hotline before hitting the road as conditions could change very quickly. The Water Security Agency says a recent fuel spill in the South Saskatchewan River is not expected to risk human health. The WSA says it was notified of a fuel spill of about 800 litres in the river near Medicine Hat around 11 o'clock last Thursday. It says an investigation determined that given the quantities of the spill and the volumes in the river, there should be no risk to human health by the time it would get to the Saskatchewan border.
However, in an abundance of caution, we notified communities and RMs along the river system proactively so that they could make their own informed decisions on how to manage their systems and intakes.
On social media, the town of Leader says its reservoir is full and it will not need to draw water until the contamination has passed. The mayor of the village of Beaver Flat told CTV News it doesn't expect a major impact on its water. The city of Saskatoon also says it won't have an impact on the water supply. Boy, Jeff, tough to complain about the weekend, or at least the Saturday.
Yeah, you can complain about Sunday. Sunday was kind of gray and very windy. We had some wind warnings down in the southern part of the province, and that low pressure area center has moved off into parts of northern Ontario, but it's got a pretty big wingspan. You can see the counterclockwise rotation. It's bringing some colder air from the north down on top of us, and so that's going to be in play for at least one more day, but then things will start to moderate, maybe even warm up. We'll talk about that later on.
A fight at an apartment building in Melfort has left one man dead and another charged with manslaughter. RCMP say the altercation happened on Saturday. Officers were called around noon to a building on Broadway Avenue South where one man had stabbed the other. 36-year-old Stam Stonesand died of his injuries. 43-year-old Tom Cook has been charged with manslaughter. Cook was scheduled to appear in court today. And a man wanted in connection to the death of a man in North Battleford has been arrested. 21-year-old Tyson Cummer was arrested at a home in Cutknife. An arrest warrant was issued for him last week following the death of 36-year-old Tyson Mosquito, who died of his injuries after being found in an alley in North Battleford. Cummer has been charged with second-degree murder. Some tense moments during a church service in North Battleford yesterday morning. RCMP were called to St. Paul's Anglican Church yesterday morning just after 10:30, where bear spray had been deployed, forcing the 25 people inside to evacuate. When officers arrived, the man suspected of setting off the bear spray was being held by a group inside the church. He was arrested. Several people, including children, were suffering the effects of bear spray and were treated by paramedics at the scene. A 77-year-old woman has been identified as the victim of Saskatoon's 7th homicide of the year. Saskatoon police were called to a home in the 200 block of Avenue R South for an injured person. They arrived to find the woman dead inside. Police are asking anyone who might have information relevant to the case to call them or report it to Crime Stoppers. The province is doing its part to fight the federal gun buyback program. Legislation allows Saskatchewan gun owners to apply for certificates and exemptions to keep their prohibited firearms. After Ottawa launched a years-long assault-style firearms compensation program, a mandatory buyback initiative aimed to remove 2,500 makes of prohibited guns it describes as assault-style. In response, the province has launched an app where guns can be verified and appraised before a certificate can be mailed, protecting gun owners once program's amnesty period ends. The process allows gun owners to be exempt from prosecution while allowing for added compensation, something the federal program has capped.
It's
Saskatchewan property owners know that nobody's coming for their gun. You need, in order to seize a firearm in this province, you need to be a licensed seizure agent, and there are none. We will protect their property rights, despite the fact that the federal government has now targeted them with this flood program.
The amnesty period ends on October 30th. After that, possession of one of these prohibited firearms could lead to criminal charges if owners don't apply for a provincial exemption. A series of hand-carved limestone pieces are being completed at St. Francis School in Saskatoon. The stone carvings took hundreds of hours of work by a local team of masons. Rocco Stone Masonry worked with school elders to come up with a meaningful piece for the school community. It features sweetgrass, an eagle, a sunset, and a cross. The tools used by the masons were some of the same types used by those in the early 1900s, giving the project more authenticity and beauty.
It's a huge honor. I know it's very important to, for the elders and stuff to have it represented properly. And, that's my main goal. It's not really about me doing it. It's about me relating their vision into the stone that'll be there for a long time.
The installation is expected to be complete later this month, adding a unique and welcoming feature to the school's entrance. A recent graduate of Saskatchewan Polytechnic is working on developing an app that connects drivers to open parking stalls. Using cameras and parking company data, the app will show drivers available parking spots. It's the idea that's still in its research phase, but it was on display at the Applied Research Student Showcase at Prairieland Park, where students had an opportunity to exhibit and demonstrate their ideas.
We take industry's problems, and our students use their expertise and what they've learned over the course of their program to solve industry problems.
After the showcase, cash prizes of up to $1,000 were awarded to the top presenters in health, social, environment, and technology categories. After the break, Prince Albert's Chief of Police gives an update on gun crime, how the new gun lab is working, and the efforts to make Saskatchewan safer. This morning, police chiefs from around Saskatchewan met to discuss their response to the federal government's gun buyback program. Prince Albert Police Chief Patrick Noget highlighted some of the challenges faced by police services dealing with gun crime. Here are his comments.
As everyone knows, the Saskatchewan Association of Chiefs of Police is nonpartisan. However, when there's significant movement that allows us to do our job, it's worth acknowledging. And that's why we're here today. I've had the ability to talk to chiefs across this province over the course of the last 3 to 6 months, including the RCMP, to see what the impact of this type of legislation will be for frontline policing resources and law enforcement. And what I can tell you is that we are busy with crime guns. We are busy with crime guns. We are busy with crime casings. We're busy with firearms that have a negative impact in all of our communities across this province. And the problem is large. And the resources and the ability for us to respond to those types of criminal activity in our communities relies on our ability to follow up on crime guns, relies on our ability to follow up on crime casings and make sure that people that bring firearms into our communities and the ones that are doing harm are the ones that are going to be held accountable. And what we've seen with respect to the establishment of the Saskatchewan Firearms Office, where we're going with that initiative, that accountability will come. It'll make us more nimble as police organizations, and it'll allow us to have an impact in our communities to make sure that people feel safe where they work and where they reside. It's the ingenuity of this program that makes it so successful for us and easy for us to get on board. The Firearms Office had an ability to use the criminal code, that's our Bible, to use it in a way that allows law enforcement to stay focused on the things that matter in our communities. And that's where we're going to see the turnaround and the benefit from this. Let's take a snapshot of what's happening in Prince Albert. In 2024 and 2025, 220 crime guns were taken off the street. These are not guns that are part of this federal legislation. These are guns that are being used to have an impact in our communities, a negative impact in our communities. And it's everything that we can do to stay on top of that. Where we have not been able to gain traction is making sure that wherever those guns are associated to, if they're coming across the borders, provincial borders, or coming in from the states, we've been playing catch up with our ability to isolate, locate, and hold people accountable for bringing those firearms into communities. We now have that footprint. We now have the ability of it. And I would challenge any other organization across this province, if you start comparing the number of firearms that are coming off the street that are being used for criminal purpose, that's more than enough to keep a fully funded unit busy 24/7, 365 days out of the year. So it's about prioritization and really laying the imprint where you're going to have the biggest impact. And this is where I think we're moving in the right direction.
How big has the new gun lab, I guess, been for helping out with those sorts of things?
It's been extremely, when it comes down to accountability. So what we're seeing is we're seeing tracing, we're seeing tracking, we're seeing linkages to other drive-by shootings, other areas where guns have been used in different communities, not just here in Saskatchewan. As I mentioned, we're making those linkages that are going into the states, we're seeing them into other provinces, and that's allowing law enforcement to become quicker and better and more efficient at making sure that people understand if they're going to use a firearm in our community, there's going to be an accountability component. If you go back 5 years, and we're looking at a relatively short time frame right now, but if you go back 5 years, we were pulling guns off the street, but that was it. You know, we weren't making those linkages and those connections. We now have a gun crime strategy in most of the organizations across this province. So I have Inspector Mushka that's with us. He looks after our crime gun strategy out of Prince Albert. And it's through that coordination and that collaboration with the Saskatchewan Firearms Office that's going to allow us to have the biggest return on your investment. Part of what we need a lab for is to allow us to do that tracing and that tracking. Right now, organizations don't have the ability to look into that themselves. It's the establishment of the lab that allows us to draw those linkages, and we have seen them. Can't give you any specific stats on how many of the firearms are coming, but what we do know from our intelligence, what we do know from the investigations and the success of those investigations is that there seems to be some connection and linkage between gangs, drugs, and guns. And those, they seem to follow themselves around. And long gone are the day where you have a very isolated, siloed impact on a community. What we're seeing is we're having people that are coming in from Eastern Canada, guns that have come in from across the border into Eastern Canada and make their way to the West. So those linkages allow us to be quicker and more efficient. Where the next stage and the evolution is now is that we can start liaising with our partners in law enforcement across this country. If we have a quicker turnaround, more efficient turnaround, then the individual that's been apprehended in possession of a firearm, we can do interviews, we can start linking them, we can find out where those guns are connected, and the solvability now of different types of crimes in our communities has been elevated tenfold. And that's what we need to continue pushing for.
Jeff's weather forecast will be coming up after the break. Later, an early detection breakthrough in the fight against breast cancer. All right, Jeff, the snow is, continues to slowly come off of the ground, but it is making progress. We had a little bit of a blip on Sunday and today, but we're back on level heading. Back on track and sort of going in the right direction once we get past tomorrow. Tomorrow's still a bit on the cool side as well, John, but then we finally get into some prolonged, I don't know to call it seasonal temperatures, because it's not really, you know, consistently warmer than seasonal, but in and around the seasonal number, which for Prince Albert this time of year should be about 15 degrees. But as we take a look at what we've got going on across Western Canada, there's that low that brought all the, that is continuing to drag in that cold Arctic air, certainly northern air on top of us. So that's why we're colder than seasonal. It's still relatively warm and dry. They had some wickedly hot temperatures out in BC. I believe Lytton, BC, I want to say they hit 30 degrees, but they might have hit 35. But I'll have that updated for you later on. But what I can tell you is that it's remaining, you know, a little warmer slowly but surely. The warmer air is migrating eastward, and it will get to Saskatchewan in the next couple of days. But even then, it's not going to be a huge jump up in temperatures. But let's take a look at this. What we want to keep our eye on, those pressure lines gap up as we get into tomorrow, but we are anticipating a bit more in the way of windy conditions as we roll into the overnight and into the early part of tomorrow. As I say, the winds will back off tomorrow afternoon. But look at the wingspan of that low. That low is still hanging around in James Bay and Hudson Bay area, and it's still having a
cold impact on Saskatchewan. So it's quite the powerful low. -4 degrees overnight in the Spiritwood area. The same for the Battlefords. -3 the overnight temperature in Candle Lake. -3 as well in Birch Hills and in Rostern. And Nipawin -2 overnight. And Melfort also in at -3 degrees. Now, as we roll into Tuesday, here's what we anticipate. Temperatures well below seasonal values. They should be nicely into the mid-teens, and that's not the case for Tuesday. 8 degrees for Spiritwood under mainly cloudy skies. Lots of sunshine in the Battlefords, but just 9 degrees. 7 with cloudy skies, or mainly cloudy skies, I should say, in Candle Lake. Cloudy in Birch Hills at 7 degrees. Mainly cloudy, and 8 in Rostern. And cloudy conditions in Nipawin and Melfort. Nipawin expected to top out at 5 degrees, 6 for Melfort. Here's the details for the Gateway City. Well, we've got ourselves a slight chance of some shower activity tonight and windy conditions to go along with it. So could be a bit of a mess in that respect, but it's just a slight chance of rain right now, but still going to be windy. Tomorrow, the winds back off a little bit, as I mentioned. Cloudy skies, 8 degrees, but that again is about 7 degrees below seasonal. And then as we roll into Wednesday, 12 degrees above seasonal on Thursday and Friday at 16 degrees, but backsliding again on Saturday, just 11 degrees, but trying to improve a little bit for Mom on Sunday, 14 degrees on Mother's Day. And then we've got ourselves a start to the work week of 18 degrees on Monday.
And Jeff, just ignore those numbers on the bottom because everybody's going to be in bed by that time. Just look at those double-digit highs in the daytime.
Absolutely.
That's what we're talking about.
Pure thoughts and deep breathing. You bet.
Exactly. There you go. May temperatures.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, the Prince Albert Raiders gave themselves a chance to end the Eastern Conference Final in Game 6 with a win in enemy territory, and neither team stopped until the final buzzer.
Evan Smith flips it out to center. Maybe a two-on rush forming for the Raiders here. Here's Boychuk down the right side. He's got Hal with him. Boychuk drags the middle. Now fires. Scores!
Riley Boychuk scored the Raiders' first and last goals of the game, and despite a close call in the dying seconds, the Raiders held on to a 7-6 win to advance to the WHL Championship Series against the Everett Silvertips. Daxon Rudolph and Braden Coots each had a goal and 2 assists. Everett has home ice advantage in the coming series, but the Raiders won the only meeting of the season between the two teams, a 4-1 decision back in November. So the Western Hockey League has released the schedule for the WHL Championship Series. It will be a 2-3-2 format where Everett hosts games 1, 2, 6, and 7, while the Raiders will host games 3, 4, and 5. Raider home games are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Time still to be determined. This is the first meeting between Everett and Prince Albert in the WHL final. The Raiders' last championship was in 2019, while Everett has not won a WHL title.
Do you have a community event you would like to promote? Or maybe you'd like to draw attention to your organization. Let your local CTV station help you spread the word. Contact us at 306-922-6020 or email panews@ctv.ca. You can appear on CTV Prince Albert's News at 5 and get your message to our viewers.
Early detection is a critical component in the fight against breast cancer for effective treatment and potentially life-saving outcomes. Now, researchers in Manitoba say they may have found a breakthrough which could address long-standing challenges. Alex Carpa reports.
So this is a lab prototype of our microwave imaging system.
A potential breakthrough tool in early breast cancer detection.
So these wires, this would be each one of these wires goes to an ultrasound transducer.
Researcher Joe Lavetri and his team at the University of Manitoba are working on a new kind of dual imaging technology that can tell the difference between different types of tissue.
We're the first ones to couple ultrasonic waves, ultrasound imaging with microwaves, and we think that we've made a bit of a breakthrough in coupling those two to get more information of the tissues inside the breast.
Lavetri says the technology could help doctors get better information faster with the long-term goal of potential clinical and commercial application.
This would be an ideal technology to monitor during the treatment to see if the treatment is actually working or not.
More testing is needed before anything moves forward, a push being supported by Tomatis, a Winnipeg-based medical imaging company.
We're actually hoping to test this on humans, not in a clinical trial setting, but more of in a test landscape later this year, ideally.
The study, which is subject to regulatory and ethics approvals, determines next steps of where and how the technology could be used.
Providing some sort of option that would work kind of in conjunction with such a thing, maybe as another option potentially in the future, is something that I look forward to.
According to the Canadian Cancer Society, breast cancer is still the most common cancer among Canadian women, with about 1 in 8 expected to be diagnosed in their lifetime.
You can't deny the importance of breast cancer. I think everybody in Canada that you speak to knows of someone who's had breast cancer.
Lavetri hopes this technology will help close critical gaps in early detection, ultimately improving outcomes and giving patients a better chance at timely, life-saving care. Alex Scarpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
There's been a deadly outbreak of a rare rodent virus aboard a cruise ship in the Atlantic. 3 people have died and another 3 are receiving treatment following a suspected outbreak of hantavirus. The vessel left Argentina 3 weeks ago, heading for Cape Verde. However, it's now anchored in the Atlantic as the World Health Organization coordinates medical evacuations. Hantavirus is carried by rodents and can cause a fatal respiratory illness.
Brought to you by Saskatchewan Union of Nurses. Thank you to Saskatchewan's 11,000 registered nurses.
Well, we're going to stay on the water, Jeff, and if the air above the water level is a little bit stanky, let's go underwater, because a group of scientists is tracking the conversations between sperm whales in real time.
So what's really unique about this underwater glider is that it allows us to stay with like a mother and baby for months at a time as they start kind of clicking into that natal dialect. So this is something that we've never been able to do before.
So, Jeff, sperm whales, they use clicks that are known as codas to navigate and hunt. But before robots like this one, it was really difficult to follow the whales over long periods of time. Since this one can make real-time decisions as well, researchers are likely to learn a lot more about communications in a short amount of time. And it's kind of like throwing a camera person into a conversation, or tagging along. Do you think the whales like having a guest?
Well, you know what?
I
understand what you're saying there, but I don't think it's like underwater paparazzi.
No,
not quite that bad.
Interesting nonetheless.
Yes, indeed.